What's up everyone, I'm Verumbra, and I hope you are enjoying your Christmas season. And speaking of that wintry holiday, most creators are dropping their top 10 lists for the year, maybe even the decade. But I decided to do something a little bit more productive, and compiled a list of games that you might not know about, or maybe you do. Maybe you've seen some gameplay footage from your favorite content creator, or maybe just from a friend. Or you've just stuck to a very small number of games, maybe even just one, and you want to expand your horizons. And you're probably like me in thinking that most big name titles that gets advertised everywhere really isn't worth your time anymore. And you're looking for games that are smaller and possibly worth your time, and you don't know where to start. But the bottom line is, these games you probably haven't tried yourself, and you really should. Now, the ordering in this list isn't really important, it's just a compilation of games that I think really need a signal boost. And if you think these games do deserve that signal boost, why don't you go ahead and share this video out with your friends, maybe post it to your favorite Discord server, or share it where your favorite online hangout is. Well, without a further ado, let's get right into it. First on our list is Dark. This game got a little bit of publicity during a Steam vs Epic snafu earlier in 2019. And just to give a little bit of a recap on that, Epic approached the developer and he kindly refused, though he did inquire about putting his game on the Epic platform, and Epic refused. Essentially, they just wanted to straight up poach another game from Steam. And he went public, exposing their real motives. And a lot of people supported the developer, but the game still is very small, and I think is a hidden gem. Now, having said that, the game is pretty short, and for a dark platformer that has puzzles that seemingly bend the laws of reality, those puzzles are pretty simple. Despite this, it's a very well made game, definitely coming from a first time developer. There's even DLC planned to be dropped for it in the future, and all in all, I feel like this is very much worth your time and the money. Next up is Valley. This game is a little old, not too bad. It's from 2006, and if you really enjoyed exploring around in Skyrim, then you'd love this game. It's not much on the story, though there is one, but the main draw is just wandering about and enjoying the scenery, while you just parkour all over the place, with the very life force of the valley at your fingertips, which is the game's only resource. It's your ammunition, it's your life gauge, and if you use too much of it and you kill the forest, it's game over. It adds a nice little dynamic added to the gameplay. But the game really isn't difficult, and you should really approach this as if it is a casual game. Nothing more, nothing less. And with the price tag of about 20 bucks, it's a fair buy. A good buy if you can get it on a nice sale. Okay, now I feel like I need to do something for those that like a little challenge in their games. And for that, I will be turning to Remnant from the Ashes. The best way I can describe this game is, well, do you like Dark Souls? Do you like guns? Do you wish Dark Souls had guns? Well, look no further, because Remnant from the Ashes has you covered. Now, if I were to be honest, you guys probably have already known about this game if you follow looter shooters. There were a few larger YouTubers that did cover it after it went out, but to say that the release flew under the radar would be an understatement. Seeing that it had to deal with the Borderlands 3 launch, not that many people found out about it whenever it released, but it did grow a little bit. But if you haven't tried this game and wanted to get into the Dark Souls genre, this game is a little bit more forgiving whenever you die, as opposed to other Dead Souls games. So it's still something to really look into. Ohman Site is 1 part murder mystery and 2 parts Majora's Mask. And even though the game is classified as action-adventure, it does lend a lot from the mystery genre as well. So you really get best of both worlds. You'll be spending most of your time replaying each day, trying to figure out the mystery, with combat peppered throughout the inquisitive storyline. Now, I will say you should play this game with a controller, as seeing that it does make it a bit easier to tolerate. You'll also want to be into the highly stylized art direction that they're going for, otherwise it will work against you while you play through it. But if you can get past those things, then there's plenty to this game to warrant a $20 price tag. Okay, this next game is quite old, or I should say series of games, seeing that I'm talking about the original Dragon Quest trilogy. Now, if you're a fan of this long-listed JRPG series, then you have your favorite installment. And I believe that a fan of any series owes it to themselves to at least see how it got started. And seeing that the games have been recently redropped for the Switch, and the PS4 if you can understand Japanese, it is a good time to pick them up, seeing that they're not that expensive. I will tell you that they are based on the mobile ports, so if you don't have either one of those, you can just pick those up, and this is one of the very few times I will ever recommend a mobile game. Okay, so the rest of the games on this list are the heavy hitters. You most likely know about these games, and I don't really need to introduce or really tell you about them, most likely. But it never seems to fail that I run into people on a regular basis that they haven't tried these games for themselves. And I hope I can change that just a little bit if I can with this video. Anyways, if you can't tell by the footage, the next game is Dead Cells. And if I were to make a top 10 games of the decade, this game would be on it. That's just how highly I think of it. It's a side-scrolling roguelike game that's in the vein of Dark Souls. And while the game won't hesitate to cave in your face whenever you mess up, its difficulty is fair. The game provides nearly endless replayability, and they've been actively developing the game since its release. In fact, they've recently announced their first paid DLC, so there isn't really any reason why you wouldn't get this game if you were interested, even if you don't like difficult games. I can't talk about Dead Cells without at least mentioning Hollow Knight. I know both of these games are quite popular and you probably have them in your library, but whenever I talk to people about the games, if they do have them, they've only played a few hours of it and they haven't really sunk their teeth into it. So I'm just going to say that you really ought to play these games. Definitely if you already have them in your library, and they go on sale quite often on the Steam store or on any of the other platforms. Now, for those people who might not know much about this game, think Castlevania Symphony of the Nights crossed over with a bunch of insects, with a health and inventory system that seems to have been heavily inspired from the Legend of Zelda games, along with a lethal combat system and plenty of post-game and DLC content to go around. There's reasons why this game is so highly recommended. We're to the second to the last game on this list, and well, Okami is an oddball of a game. It was released back in the golden days of the PS2 era of gaming, and it's been re-released several times, and yet, despite its age, it still holds up to even today's AAA standard. Even though that standard's pretty low at this point, but that's not the subject of this video, so. Getting back on track, you play as Amaterasu in the incarnation of a wolf, as you play through several Shinto myths. The game's story is top-notch. Even its introductory quest is longer and more rich than some AAA titles nowadays. And the battle system is unique in of itself. It has basic melee combos, but its power system is based on a brush, which surprisingly works quite well. It's just one of those games that I can just keep replaying the story over and over. And it's only $20 full price. And it's on all platforms. I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't get this game. Definitely if you're looking for a gift for yourself or for someone else. Well guys, we've made it to the end of the video, and I'd like just to stop for a moment and thank everyone that stuck around this long for watching the video. And if you like the content, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel, since my gaming content is all over the place, and that usually means that I'm just going to disappear back into the YouTube void, away from your recommendations or however else you found me. Now that I have that little intermission out of the way, let me start talking about the final game in this list, Final Fantasy. While this might seem like a little bit of a cop-out, it really isn't. I mean, just consider how many entries there are, just the mainline. You haven't played all of these. At least I haven't found that many people that have. And while my official recommendation for this list is 7, since the remake is just next year, 6, 8, 9, and 5 are all really good choices if you want somewhere to begin. And no, that wasn't me giving you what specific order you should play those in. It was just me being random. I do enjoy setting some people's OCD off from time to time. And now that I've had my fun, let me know what you guys thought of the list. And are there any games that just sit in someone's inventory, piling up a mountain of dust but really deserves to be played? Put it down in the comments because I'm really thinking about making this a regular series. Anyways, this is about it for this video, so have a Merry Christmas and see you in the next one.